the old days, for a car to be famous, they had to be in a hit movie or a big TV show. But these days, more people play video games. So if you want your car to be famous, you got to be in something like Gran Turismo 6, even if your car is 40 years old. This is my 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. It's been heavily modified. We've converted it to rear-wheel drive, and it's got over 1,000 horsepower. That makes it a bit more exciting to drive than the ones that came off the production line. Still got a kick every time I drive this car. What we've done is built a modern chassis and set this 1960s body on it. The engine is a 427 with twin turbochargers on it, and it puts out 1,076 horsepower on the dyno. It's like a giant sports car on steroids is what it is. And to get the most out of it, all you got to do is kind of put your foot down. This car, although it has a lot of horsepower, you can't beat physics. It's a 4,000-pound car, easy. Because you have what appear to be stock-looking tires, they're radials on this, they're not racing tires, so consequently there's a tendency for the tires to break loose all the time. So you want to be careful. Go into the corner, brake just going into the corner, midway through the corner, nail it, you'll feel the tail slide out, and just hang on. You always want to have this thing pointed in a straight line. And she goes pretty good. Well, the Gran Turismo guys are real car nuts, and they came to my garage, and they don't have cars like this in Japan. They don't have cars this big in Japan, and they were amazed at the size of it. And when I explained them what we had done to it, they said, oh, we got to put that in the game. Now, I know this is a virtual Toronado because I didn't drive my real Toronado in Tokyo. That's how I know. See, if I did this in Tokyo, I would be in a lot of trouble. Well, boom. It's hard to get a hold on the handling. I mean, they've got the physics of it down pretty good because the Toronado is a big, heavy car. And when you go into a corner a little too quickly, the weight shifts and you can feel it. It certainly accelerates like the real car. I mean, you hear the tires screeching. I mean, it's pretty authentic. And the steering wheel fights you just the right amount. Well, the graphics are unbelievable. That's my dashboard. That's got the rolling speedometer like the real Toronado has. The attention to detail is pretty amazing. Well, the more you drive it, the better you get at it, obviously. And you've got a tremendous amount of road feel coming through the steering wheel. And it does feel like the real car. It's fun to be able to use all the power the Toronado has. Because let's face it, on the street, there's not a lot of place you can use 1,000 horsepower. Well, I was honored to have the founder of Gran Turismo drive my car.
テールを出さないで運転するのが結構大変です。そうですね。J. レノさんのね、車の趣味と僕の趣味は意外と合ってるんじゃないかという気もしていて、もしかしたらグランツーリスモを通じて J. レノさんもそれを感じてるかもしれないです。
I don't think he did much better than I did. This is actually my favorite view right here rather than behind the wheel. Gives me just a better sense of what the car is actually doing, how big and heavy it is. You can see once it starts wagging its tail, it's hard to get it straightened out again. So you got to be very smooth and precise, which at this point in the game, I am not. Well, here's how big video gaming has gotten. You know, it's one thing to have my cars in Gran Turismo 6, which I think is pretty cool. When a company like Mercedes-Benz designs a car specifically, a virtual car for Gran Turismo, that's when you know it's pretty big. This is an actual living, breathing car. You've probably seen it at a couple of the auto shows already, that was designed specifically for the Gran Turismo 6 game. And you can see the Mercedes-Benz influences in it. Notice, if you know your Mercedes history, there's a little bit of the SLR from the early 50s there. And it's amazing how low this car is. The roof line of this car is about where the fender is on my Toronado. That shows you a 50-year difference in design. But let's go hear from the head of Mercedes design, Gordon Wagoner, see what he has to say.
The coolest thing about this car is really the proportion. It's a typical Mercedes sports car GT proportion. So it has a long hood, you know. The cab sits on the rear wheel, you know, and it's simply stunning. It was so excited to hear that when GT approached us. So our designers have been hooked up straight away. I believe the digital revolution will change the car the most in the next 10 years, more than it did in the last 50. this is the cool thing about these kind of exercises. It generates new ideas. So in fact, this car is not so far from reality. So you can imagine that as being like the next SLS or so. You can easily just convert that, no problem. And you know, we bring out a real sports car, a new one next year, and it will actually carry a lot of this flavor of this car here. So what you see can be reality pretty soon.
So how about that? The next time you see a concept car for the first time, it could be in a video game, moving and driving. And the cool thing about this car is you don't need a license to drive it. All you need is one of these.